This video will be about how to dual boot OS X, well, two versions of OS X really, on a PowerPC Mac, specifically an iBook G4 or a Powerbook G4, or well, any notebook really that's certified, because this thing only has one disk. Usually dual booting on a Mac like a Power Mac G4 or G5 is very easy, because you can just pop in a second disk and boot from that. I'm just going to see what you're going to have to do in order to do this on just one disk, so you can dual boot, in my case, OS X Panther and Tiger or a Leopard. So of course first you're going to have to pop in your OS X 10.3 disk. You can also start off with Tiger or Leopard, it doesn't really matter. But you know, it's always better to start off with the old one, at least in my opinion. So we just go through these steps. Of course it will now warn me because I already have an OS on a disk. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, that's what I'm going to have to do. Go to your installer and open your disk utility, because of course we don't want this to do itself automatically. We're going to define our partitions manually. So just going to have to wait till it reads the disk. Okay, so now we have our Macintosh HD. Okay, let's click on the full drive here. macOS X Journal. Current scheme, it doesn't have any partitions. We're going to change that to 2 partitions. They're all both going to be macOS Extended Journal, because that gives the best performance on the disk. You could use Unix file system or macOS Extended Regular, maybe for OS 9 purposes or whatever. But that won't run on this thing, so I don't really care. So on partition 1 we're going to install Panther, and on the second one I'm going to run Tiger or Leopard. Either is fine. So just to make things a little more, there we go, click. Now I've got 30 gigs of my 80 gig hard drive for Panther, and the rest is 44.5 gigs for Leopard or Tiger. So now all we have to do, after we've defined these partitions, is click Partition. Yes, I want to partition this. I just see that I called them Untitled and Untitled. Let's give them names, really. That might be a better idea. So we're going to call this one, let's see, Panther. Okay, I'm going to call this one, let's see, what disk do I have laying around? Okay, this one's going to be Leopard. Okay, fine. Leopard. Okay, let's click partition once again. Creating the partition map. Okay. That's looking good. We've got 2 partitions. Now that's done. To close the disk utility, now our 2 partition will show up as expected, and we're going to install it on the Panther partition. So now, only thing you gotta do, of course, skip installation disk, this one's fine. Now all you gotta do is sit back and install Panther. I'll come back when that is running up, and then I will be popping in the Leopard image, restoring that, booting that up, and I'll be rebooting the system, and I'll show you how you can successfully use your dual booting Mac operating system. Okay, OS X Panther is now installed, so I can easily verify by clicking about this Mac. You can see here that macOS 10.3.3 is now installed here on this disk, and our 2 partitions here are shown on the desktop. If you go to the Panther disk, let me click this by the way, you can see this is our Panther disk with the application library system and so forth, and Leopard disk is completely empty. In my case, I have a restore image on this USB flash drive, which I'll be using to restore OS X Leopard onto the Leopard partition. So all I gotta do is pop it in to the USB port on the side without moving the whole damn thing. Wait for that to mount. Okay, there it shows up. Good. So what we're going to do now is go to Utilities and look for the disk utility. This is just a restore procedure, by the way. You can also just pop in the disk, reboot, hold down C and boot into the OS X Leopard setup, and then do the same things, but then select the Leopard disk instead of the Panther disk and run that install. But I'll just be using a restore in this particular video because I don't happen to have it on disk at the moment. I just made a restore disk for this. So okay, so here's our thing. What we're going to do is open it up. Let's see, it should be here somewhere. Okay, yes, here is our Leopard PowerPC image, the DMG. We're just going to mount it. Skip the verification because that's going to take ages. It's quite a big image, really. It's just under 4 gigs, so it will fit on a FAT32 partition. And here's all the data that's on that thing. So I can go back here. So that's the DMG image. So let's go to the Leopard partition here. Let's see, let's verify that it's the correct. Yep, it's macOS Extended Journal, as we expected. Now we're going to click the tab Restore. The source, we're just going to drag the DMG image, drop it there. And as destination, we're going to drag the Leopard. All we got to do is restore, click data, and continue. Now I've got to fill in my password. And as you can see, it's starting to copy. Once that process is finished, I will be showing you what to do next. So for now, this is just the installation of Leopard on the separate disk. Like I said, if you're just going to do this with a disk or using Tiger, the only thing you got to do is just pop in a disk, hold down C to boot from the CD, then go through all the installation steps, but don't partition anymore. Just click the Leopard disk for installation, or your Tiger disk if you've chosen OS X Tiger, and then you're just good to go. If you're watching this and you're trying to set this up on an Intel Mac, you can basically do the same thing. But remember that you're going to have to need your Intel versions of OS X. For instance, if you for some reason want to dual boot OS X Tiger Intel with, I don't know, Snow Leopard Lion or Mountain Lion, you could in theory do that. But I don't really see a reason why. I do see a reason to dual boot Snow Leopard and Lion for the simple reason that Lion doesn't support PowerPC applications anymore. And if you rely on older applications, there's most definitely a reason to stick with 10.6. Or maybe even go back to 10.5. Because the PowerPC support there is still, you know, reasonable. As a matter of fact, Leopard is still half PowerPC, half Intel. I'm just restoring this build here, which is actually a stripped down version that doesn't have any Intel code anymore. It's just native PowerPC, so it performs a little bit faster on this older iBook. But okay, like I said, I'm just going to cut it off here, and I will be back as soon as this installation finishes. Okay, the restore procedure was successful. What we're going to do now is verify that we can actually boot from the Leopard partition. But first of all, I'm just going to unmount the DMG file. You could have also just opened it right here, it doesn't really matter. Unmount the flash drive, so I can pull that one out. That's just mere preparation, not really important or anything. You can close disk utility, you can go to the system preferences. And now we're going to select startup disk. Okay, there we go. We have 10.3.3 Panther, which is the current operating system, which still has to be updated. And we have 10.5.8 Leopard on the Leopard disk. In order to restart into Leopard, we could just, select it like it is now, because it's selected as default operating system. Then click Restart, and it will go into Leopard. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to restart the Mac in this case. Restart. This is going to take a while. Hold down the Option key, which is the weird Alt key next to the weird Apple button. Left Alt key, in this case, is the Option key. Now we wait. There we go. We have a boot selection menu. As you can clearly see, we have Leopard and Panther to choose from. You've already seen Panther by now, so I guess it would be a good time to boot into Leopard. As soon as it finishes, because right up there, it's still doing something. Still detecting if there's a network source to boot from. As soon as that finishes its timeout, we can successfully boot into Leopard, which it will do now. So by default, Leopard is now your main operating system. So if you want to boot into Panther, you're going to have to hold down the Option key and select the Panther disk in order to boot into it. Of course, this can be done more easily by just, selecting Panther as the main operating system and only holding down the Option key if you want to boot into OS X Leopard. That's all a matter of preference, but that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you how easy it can be to just set up a dual boot on your Mac, whatever Mac you have. This is mostly aimed at people using iBook G4s, G3s, PowerMac G4, G3s, but especially notebook computers, because in the PowerMacs you can just put in a second hard drive and just boot from that, and that's really easy and all. This is sort of similar, but you can just do this fine on just one disk. Alright, there we are, OS X Leopard. Looking quite a bit differently, as you can imagine. It's quite a bit newer. This is an updated version of up to 2009. And Panther, got updated till 2005. So that's quite a bit of difference. Alrighty, our dual boot has been successful so far, because we clearly have OS X Leopard running here. It's not the fastest in the world, but it works. System preferences, there we go. Of course, there's a whole new feature like Spotlight and whatnot, but that's not really the point. Start up disk. And we can also boot from Panther right here, if we would so desire. Why would you even want to dual boot Leopard and Panther, you might ask? Well, Leopard has quite a bit better compatibility in terms of applications, so you can even keep using PowerPC Macs in the modern world. They're not the fastest machines out there. The G5s are still very, very, very usable for everyday computing and even some more demanding tasks. But these older G4 Macs, you can still use them, but you just need the right software for them. If you want fast operation, install Panther, maybe Tiger. If you want compatibility and still be able to use modern applications like Microsoft Office 2008, go with Leopard. That's the better bet. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to set up a dual boot on your Mac computer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.